Hi, it's been a little while since I did an update. Thank you everybody who has recently started following the channel and subscribing. And thank you all of the people who have sent messages and put things in the comments about the fibromyalgia video. Thought I better kind of swing back and maybe do a little update on that. Obviously, fibromyalgia is a long-term condition, so I struggle with it daily, and sometimes it can be all right, and sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. I guess I wanted to chat about today some of the things that I found useful and some of the things that I know I do wrong, and then I just still do it anyway, because life does not rest. You know, like the house still needs cleaning, food still needs making, the garden still needs taking care of, like life stuff obviously carries a really high cost for people with long-term chronic conditions. The last probably 2 to 3 weeks on and off, in bed, exhausted, not really having decent sleep, having lots of pain, and my brain has been misfiring all the time, which is so tedious. It's frustrating, to say the least. What I need to get into the habit of doing to help with things like brain fog and forgetfulness is that I need to start using my phone a bit more. So I need to be writing in my diary, and I need to add alarms to, just to organise life. So that's one thing that I really need to try and get to grips with, because I'm a freelance and I do a lot of work that is, self-motivated, and there's only me in my workforce. So, when I am out of action, nobody is picking up the slack in terms of business. And because recently I've been extremely tired, I think there's been very changeable air pressure where I live, that I've got a real air pressure sensitivity, and it just absolutely naxes. Things that really help are food. It makes sense if you have a good moment to make a batch of something decent, or 2 things decent if you feel like you can do a couple of things on the go at once. So one of my favourite ones, which is also on the YouTube, is overnight porridge oats with fresh fruit in it and nuts. It's really easy to make. I put it in a really big tureen and sit that in the fridge, and then basically 5 days you can just go and get yourself a nice big spoonful. It's healthy, it has vitamins, it has sugar, because you might need a bit of sugar. I don't know how the rest of you guys feel, but sometimes I feel like I get a little bit hypoglycemic, where like I just haven't had enough sugar, so I crash. So the overnight oats is an absolute lifesaver, not just for me with my chronic pain condition, but also for my partner who has IBS and we recently realised is lactose intolerant. So we make our overnight oats with almond milk and a full tin of peaches and whatever fruit that you've got lying around. But really for the base mix, you need oats, almond milk, tinned peaches, a couple of apples chopped down into bits, and 2 to 3 bananas chopped down into bits. And then, you can play around with whatever stuff that you've got kicking around. We like adding blueberries, strawberries, all kinds, really. I think the only thing I didn't really enjoy that I'd added in, because we had some leftover, was oranges and satsumas. The orange, for some reason, just did not sit with the rest of the flavours. But you can play with that as much as you like. In terms of texture, you really, really need those apples for a little bit of crunch. Other things that have been useful to cook are, a big batch of ragu or bolognese, depending on where you're from. We recently realised that it wasn't just lactose that was making my partner's IBS worse, but also if he ate too many red meats. So if you had too much steak or burgers or anything like that, that was also difficult for him to digest. So we actually created pork ragu instead. I prefer it. I don't think it's quite as rich as the beef. Today's an okay day. I am a little bit tired and painful, but obviously, as I just said, life doesn't stop for anyone. So I'm gonna attempt to do some work in the yard, and so that I can get some nice fresh air. I haven't been out of the house very often, and also get a little bit of that vitamin D, which is very, very important. So yeah, if you can manage at any point to have an hour to 2 hours of reasonable energy, you need to try doing some batch cooking, or if you can't cook, then the overnight oats, because it's a really, really good save when you're knackered and you're starving and you just don't want another takeaway. Obviously, takeaways are bad for the environment, but if you haven't been able to eat because you're in too much pain, then just buy a takeaway if you have the money to do so. You need to be fed, otherwise you're always going to be exhausted and in pain. At least if you're fed, then you can take your meds and you'll probably be all right. I will link in the video for the overnight oats and for bolognese. If you can, have a go at making those are great. I hope everybody has a fantastic International Women's Day. I just think I'll quickly mention, since it is International Women's Day, that there is actually a gender pain gap. Well, I think one of the reasons why there is a gender pain gap is that the baseline for vast majority of medicines is a male test subject. So most medicines are angled towards men, they're tested on men. And the reason for this is that they have a static baseline, which we don't as women. Women have really insane hormonal changes across the month, and so our bodies are just more complicated, which means that when pain medications and therapies and different things like that are being tested, they are tested by men. Some of the statements that our GP made would make you very, very, very angry. Oh, are you just here for a sick note? That was what he said to us. Are you sure that it's not psychosomatic? So they really come out with like, oh, are you crazy? Are you just imagining this? As like your second go-to in a doctor's appointment. It was pretty mad. So in the UK, because I know I've ended up having a few American viewers. In the UK, obviously we have the NHS, which is really, really, really good. You need that safety net. But certain aspects of the machine don't really work. You only have 5 minutes in your doctor's appointment to really cover loads and loads of stuff. I was struggling. I was housebound pretty much at the time for almost 2 years, and the pain was excruciating. Quality of life was pretty much nil. I definitely was struggling to see any kind of future. First of all, I had to fight to go and see the same doctor because I didn't want to spend my 5 minutes appointment trying to explain all of the mad symptoms and things that were happening to us. It's exhausting when you're already running on zero. I wanted to build a relationship with a doctor who I wouldn't have to explain myself to all the time. Unfortunately, my doctor's is a training surgery, so there was new doctors all the time, and in the end I had to request that I would see the practice partner. To have a doctor that I was trying to build a relationship with in order to get proper care, he gave me really stupid advice, and he would be angry sometimes with us, like I was just taking up his time and very dismissive. Eventually, he agreed to put me on amitriptyline, which was a really, really good thing because then I could at least get some sleep at night, and it does have a pain-killing quality to it. Because it was so traumatic and difficult to get any kind of, well, compassion. Would have been nice and made the whole thing a little bit easier. It was just a little bit of compassion. But, unfortunately, loads of people have probably had similar. So anyway, the next level of stupidity that my GP did was to say, well, have you thought about having a baby? I was like, I think I might have fibromyalgia and endometriosis. Is having a baby a good idea? I can barely look after myself sometimes. Should I be having a child? And he would say, well, it might make you better. Started IVF and taking lots of weird hormone drugs that you had to inject yourself with. And of course it made us worse. I had fibromyalgia. I didn't need to have a baby. I had the lap and dye test, which is like an invasive keyhole surgery thing, just to go and check out and make sure that, all my uterus and that was fine. And it was. So this proved to me that there was something else going on. And I thought, I think there's a signaling problem going on. My body's telling me that I'm in pain when it really shouldn't be telling us that I'm in pain. And I'm not making that up. And the exhaustion, I'm not making any of that up either. The upshot is that the gender pain gap meant that for many years I wasn't receiving any kind of help or care. And it was extremely damaging to my mental and physical health. So I guess and I'm going to wrap it up now. I realise I've waffled on for 20 minutes, but maybe worth talking about. More women suffer from autoimmune sicknesses than men, and more women suffer from fibromyalgia. I'm not saying that this is across the board. Men do still have these illnesses, but women have more of them. The gaslighting of women and their pain really needs to stop because it's very counterproductive. You're not getting women back into the workforce. So yeah, I'm hopeful that in the future, one of these International Women's Days, we will have better answers and better ways for offering care to women with chronic illnesses. Right, I'm going to leave it at that because I've waffled for ages and I need to put the subs on it, which is going to take a while. Thank you. Please remember, like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.